Hello and welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another A Stitch in Crime. I am your host, Jill. How are you all tonight? I'm trying to get the mood together for this Friday night. It's certainly good to see everyone coming in. Hello, Colleen. Hello, Maggie. Hello, everyone coming in. I appreciate everybody being here. I said hello to most everybody in the chat earlier. Denny is here. It's hot. We have actually had a break in the heat, and I could not be more happy about this break. Carrie Walden, good to see you. Glad you are here. So, I am wondering how many of you know anything about this case. This is the case of Rebecca Ruud, who is accused of killing her daughter, Samantha Leckie. Hello, Bonnie. Well, I hope you make a full recovery soon, Tony. Hello, Lorna. Good to see you. Yeah, people are coming in. Hi, Karen. Hello, Amanda. I would love to send you a break. It has been such a welcome. We've actually had just over an inch of rain to go along with that, so I could not be happier about both of those things, the break in the heat and a little bit of rain. No matter how much it is, I will take it. Hello, Kathy G. Oh, it's good to have you for your first time here. Good to have you. Hey, Deb of Delphine's Crafted. It's good to see you. Okay, so I am going to bring in my hands. For those of you who don't know how this works, I usually start to share my screen. I will bring my hands in so that you can see what I am knitting. And tonight, again, it is the new Stitch in Crime blanket. It's actually, maybe we should take a measurement too and see what this looks like. If I can find a... Looks like I'm getting to be got about 8 inches on it now. It's a decent amount. It's decent. I only work on it on these Fridays, or if I go need something in the car, I will work on it in the car too. If you do not know what I'm talking about, my Stitch in Crime, it's a blanket that we are doing for the Scrap in Time Blanket Mal, hashtag Scrap in Crime Blanket Mal. You can, it's a mal because you can either knit or crochet, and you can send me a picture of the blanket you're making as long as it is from this year and you are working on it during the Stitch in Crime podcast. You can enter it to win a quarterly prize. We do this quarterly. Is it somebody's birthday? Happy birthday, Annie. That's great. Happy birthday. Hi, Kaz. Okay. Yes, we did get a break. So I did watch the trial. Now, I will tell you, I have not watched the entire trial, but I watched most of it. And thankfully, this one was only about 3 days. So I'm about to get started, and I just want you guys to know that you can also email me your pictures of your blankets also. We have a couple of entries already for this quarter that I saw coming up in the Facebook group, and I thank you so much for that. It's good to see you guys had a couple people that finished a Terra blanket. And if you're not sure what that is, you can ask the mods or email me and I will tell you about the Terra blanket, but it should be in my playlist here on YouTube. So, hello, Sandy. How are you tonight? So, the way this goes is I normally will turn off the comments for myself so that I won't see them. I won't be paying attention to the comments until a little bit later. And when that is when I will answer questions so I can go ahead and get started on the story. So I'm not ignoring you, I'm just telling the story. So this case is happening in Springfield, Missouri. The girl that I'm talking about's name is Savannah, and her last name is Lecky, and it's spelled kind of strangely. Some people say Lecky, some people say Likey, but I heard most everyone calling it Lecky, which is Leckie. The person who is on trial is her biological mother, and her name is Rebecca. Some people know her as Reba. Now, Rebecca has a husband. His name is Robert Pete Jr. And Robert Pete Jr. and her got married after Savannah passed after Savannah died. They got married. We'll get into more of that later because there's a whole story around that also. However, he was living on again, off again on the property when Savannah was there. So now I'm going to take you back, before we get into what happened, I'm going to take you back to a little bit more about Savannah. Savannah was actually raised by Tamil. Now she spells that Tamil, and David, David, Lecky, that same spelling as earlier. Her name, Tamil's name now is Tamil Lecky Montague. So if you're looking up her name, that is what it is. And they raised her until 2016. Now, the way this all happened was that Tamil was living in Florida, and she was the next door neighbor to Rebecca, or Reba's mother. Rebecca was visiting her mother in Florida when she was very, very pregnant with Savannah. And she was at that time deciding that she did not want to have this child. She did not want to raise this child. And there were some times when Tamil was over visiting with Rebecca's mother, so it started to become something that Tamil knew about, and she got to hold once Savannah was born. Tamil got to hold her, and Tamil and her husband David had been so far unsuccessful in having children. So she was really excited to to see this baby. They had talked about adopting a child. And so one thing led to another, and they adopted Savannah. Now, they didn't just adopt her, like she wasn't just given to them. It turns out that Savannah wound up being put into Child Protective Services, and she wound up Child Protective Services and then into foster care. And once she was into foster care, then Tamil and David actually hired a lawyer and legally did everything. They adopted her legally. So everything was on the up and up. They raised her, and they actually, if you can believe it or not, they actually raised her, and then Rebecca had a second daughter, Michaela, and they adopted Michaela too. Now I'm trying to see how old, because I believe that how old, what year this was. So Savannah was born in 2001, and then Michaela was born just over 2 years later in 2004. Savannah, when she went missing, was in 2017. So she was right at 16 years old. So she was 16, 17, somewhere around in there. The Savannah had a lot of problems. And we're going to get into a little bit more of that also, but she had a lot of emotional problems from the time that she was a child. She began to have issues that would crop up, and she had to be seen by a doctor and was diagnosed with, she had ADHD, she had Asperger's, she had bipolar, that she was diagnosed with a gambit of different things by the time that she was a teenager. She was in and out of hospitals. She had suicidal ideations. There was a lot, and this stuff was gone into tremendously detailed in the trial. Lots of paperwork was gone over and was very detailed about all of her times in and out of hospitals. It was decided at some point in 2016 that Savannah would go back to live with her biological mother. Now, the biological mother and oh, look at there, I've got to do a little dance. Hold on, you guys. I just happened to see that out of the corner of my eye. Thank you so very much, Kimberly. That's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Alicia, you'll have to let me know if I miss any of those, please. Hello, Cheryl. Tamil and David were having problems. I believe they separated in Tamil and David had separated in 2010, and they had divorced by 2012. However, Tamil and David were both jointly parents of Savannah and had legal rights to Savannah, all legal rights, even though they were separated and divorced. And they actually had a child together. They did not think they could have children, and Tamil became pregnant and they had a child in 2006, I believe, and that one was David's and his name was William. So now there were 3 children. Tamil was supposed to be getting child support for these children. However, David was not sending regular child support. This becomes important later too. So in sometime in 2016, Tamil had met another man, and his name was I did not write that one down. Keith something. And Savannah was having problems. She really wasn't getting along real well with him. She was having more and more emotional problems. She'd been in and out of the hospital. She'd become a little bit hard to handle, and there was a decision made for her to go and, as a trial, go and stay with Rebecca, her biological mother, just for a short time. And initially it was supposed to just be for the summer, and she would just be almost be like a change of place, a change of um, everything, to where she could maybe reboot a little bit, um, and kind of get herself out of some of the problems that she was having. And she had stayed in contact. So they had stayed in contact with each other. Tamil and Rebecca had stayed in contact. Rebecca had stayed in contact with the kids, all of those things. I don't know why Michaela did not want to go with the mother. I think that there was no real relationship between those two at all. And so Savannah was staying with her mother when she went missing. Now, she was declared missing on July the 20th, 2017. And this would have been at Rebecca's farm. Now, this farm is very interesting itself. This farm is very, very rural. It's in a very rural part of Missouri, in this county, and it's 81 acres, but there's no house on this farm. No house whatsoever. Rebecca had goats, and I think she had chickens. Not sure if she had any other animals. She must have done something, because they did have some hay in the hay barn. I don't know if she bought that or she produced it. I'm not clear on that. Um, However, there were animals at this farm. There was a barn, and this barn, on part of the barn, is where they stored It was like a garage and storage for hay and all that kind of stuff. And then they were building an apartment. And so they had it partially built out where they had an apartment in one part of this barn. It was a metal building. And there was also a pull along trailer. So this would have been like a pop out kind of thing, that you pull behind your, everybody was pulling those behind their station wagons for years and years. So this was like a one bedroom with a little kitchen in it, all that kind of stuff. And this was Savannah's room. This was where she lived on the property, was in this trailer. There was no actual electricity to the farm. They had water, but they did not actually have electricity. So they had generators. And this is how they got their electricity, was with the generator. There had been 2 fires right before Savannah went missing. They were burning brush. So they were burning, from what I understood, there was like the tops of some trees. There was all kinds of like stuff that they had been cutting and moving and cleaning up around the farm, and all of this stuff they had been putting it into these big brush piles. And they'd had one pile of brush that they were burning, and it got a little out of hand, and Rebecca called the fire department. Now, Rebecca was a lot of different things over the years. More recently, she was on the volunteer fire department. So she knew everyone on the fire department, and she knew who to call. So she called, instead of calling the fire department directly, she thought she would get people out there faster if she called people that she knew on the fire department. So that's what she did. She called the fire department and got the guys out there, and they put out the fire. And when the testimony of the guys from the fire department said that it went out that she had a structure fire, but she did not. It's just that this particular brush pile was a little closer to the house than what she was comfortable with. And so she told them just to bring everything, because she was just really worried about this fire. And supposedly that night of that fire, that afternoon and evening, when they were all out there, she got burnt on her arm during this fire. And she said several different things, but one thing she said was that she had some sort of a wood chopper or something, that she decided that she was too close to the fire, and she went to pull it out away from the fire, and she got burnt on her arm. Now, this becomes important later also. Okay, I got to take a drink, y'all. Got to get my water. I'm trying to get all my water in. So Robert Pete Jr. took Rebecca to the doctor, to the emergency room. Rebecca got antibiotics and some painkillers, some hydrocodone for pain for her arm. And that, as I said, that was the night before Rebecca went missing. Okay. This is the night before she goes missing. They have that fire. She goes to get this medicine, all of that stuff. Or no, that's a few days before. Excuse me. That's a few days before. And then the night before Rebecca goes missing, they're burning brush again, and they actually decide to have a large bonfire. And they're all at the bonfire. Um, Robert, Savannah, Rebecca, Rebecca and Savannah had some argument over some homework. Rebecca supposedly went to bed. Robert supposedly went to bed. Rebecca said that she stayed up for a little while watching the fire, and then she went to the apartment where Robert was. She said that Robert slept like so deeply that even a bomb would go off and he would not hear it. That's how deeply soundly he slept. That she went to get she was doing something and she saw this antibiotics that she had gotten, and she decided to go and take them to Savannah, because Savannah a couple days before had said she said that Savannah had claimed that she was going to throw herself in the fire and kill herself, and that she had gotten burnt on her hand. So Rebecca had decided she was going to take her antibiotics and go give them to Savannah so that she would be better. And that when she went to go give her the antibiotics, she found her and she said that she was cold and not there. And those were her words, that she was cold and not there. So instead of having anyone find out about this, she put her in the fire and burnt her in the fire. This is how she dealt with it. She burned her in the fire. Hi, Chels. Now she admits to burning her in the fire. She was on trial for, she's accused of and went through trial for murder and burning the body. She claims that she found Savannah and she burnt the body. What I would like to know is, who does that? Who does that? Who burns a body? Who burns your child's body in a fire? Where does that make any sense? Oh, it's okay that she didn't kill her, she just burned her body. Where is that okay? That makes absolutely no sense to me at all. I'm not buying that at all. Now I'm going to tell you a little synopsis of what the sheriff testified to, because it gives you a little better time. The timeline is a little better hearing it from the sheriff, from his point of view. So let me give it to you that way. Here's what the sheriff said. that Savannah lived in the pool behind trailer on the property, that Rebecca lived in the metal barn structure. The only electricity there was a generator. There was a search on the 20th of July of 2017. That is the initial search when they were called out because Rebecca reported that she called the sheriff's office and reported that Savannah was missing. Even though she knew she'd put her in the fire, she reports her missing. So that was initially why he went out there, and they had a cursory search of the property. There was a follow-up search on the 24th of July. And unbeknownst to anyone from the previous search or from anything that Rebecca had told them, somehow on the 24th of July is when she said that her hydrocodone was missing. It's missing. On the 25th, they came out with the search dogs and did another search. Now, this one was, the one on the 25th was a consent search. So Rebecca consented to having them come out and search the property. They searched everywhere. The only place that the dogs hit on for a cadaver was the burn pile. It's the only place. As a matter of fact, they didn't find a scent even of Rebecca, of Savannah anywhere. Nothing. The entire property, the only place was the burn pile. The camper was searched, the buildings were searched, everything was searched that day with the dogs. Everything. There was some in the barn, there was some lye in the barn, and there was a couple of areas in the barn that were not searched because the man who was the handler of the dogs said that he would not allow, he could tell that it was lye, and he would not allow his dogs to search in that particular area. So that was a thing that came up during the trial. Now, on all of the searches before all of these searches, there was all consent given by Rebecca for the search, all of them. There was a legal search warrant put out for the property on the 4th of August because the dogs had hit on the burn pile. So they got a legal search warrant for the property on August the 4th. She did not give consent. The property had on all these other searches been open. All the buildings were open. They got there. She was not there. All of the buildings were locked. And if you can't believe it, you guys, that is the day that Rebecca and Robert Pete Jr. go down to the courthouse and get married. And that's the day they found Savannah's remains in the fire. August the 4th. They have another search on August the 9th where they were sifting through everything. They took the burn pile apart. They sifted through. They pulled everything and got everything they could because now they have remains and now they have to do a further search. So they went in there and they found everything they could possibly find off that property. They found part of her clothing, they found teeth, they found some bones, they found a couple of other things that belonged to her, uh, but they did not find, in other words, they did not find a complete set of remains. On August 21st of 2017, Rebecca was arrested. She was by herself at the bus station. She had a large number of suitcases and belongings with her, and she was going to get on the bus and leave. And that's where she was arrested. While they were processing her and processing her belongings that she had with her, they found some documents in her belongings. So they stopped and got an actual search warrant for her person and for her belongings. And in that way, they were able to take a complete inventory of all of the things that she had with her. Okay, let me check here. See see what you guys think so far of all of this. Is this not, now I will remind you that we do not have a verdict so far. I checked again today. There was no verdict yet. This particular trial was held as a bench trial, which means there was no jury on this one. No jury. Now, according to everything that I looked at, it is the defendant that chooses whether it goes to a jury or not. And so this means that Rebecca Ruud decided not to go before a jury of her peers. She decided to let the judge decide. That made it a bench trial. I will tell you, that made it pretty quick because they had just about 3 full days of trial before they were done. Now, there were issues for getting her before a judge because of COVID. Of course, a lot of things were on the docket were slowed down because of COVID. And I'm seeing that with a lot of these cases that are coming up recently. Yep, another crazy mom, Karen. Another crazy mom. Hello, Sandy. So, are you asking? Was someone asking about Robert Pete Jr.? Because he is also on trial. He was not. They were not tried at the same time. He was a witness for the prosecution during the trial. He came on and told what he knew, which matched almost verbatim what she said. Uh, Nothing really earth shattering in anything that he said. He got along fine with Savannah, yada yadas. Really nothing earth shattering whatsoever. But he did corroborate the timeline, at least. He didn't give any new information to say what may or may not have happened. So in his testimony, he's saying that he didn't see anything happen. That's what he is saying. I don't believe there was any of her stuff with her. No, I don't think so. They're saying that she had there were documents there. They did not. There's a lot of stuff that was not allowed on this trial that I thought was strange. There were some strange things that were not allowed, uh, that the judge did not allow. But no, they did not say whether she had anything with her at all. What they're saying is that he is being charged because he had knowledge that this had occurred. And since they are charging her with murder, they're charging him with murder as well. They got married on the day that the remains were found, and they thought that meant that they were going to have husband and wife privileges. Okay. However, in Georgia, in Missouri, they don't have that. So that is what is being claimed, Karen, is that she overdosed her with the oxy in Kool-Aid. There are, and I always say that I am very skeptical of those that want to give their story after they have been in jail with the person. But there were a couple of jailhouse snitches here. Okay, and their stories came into play on this, and they were not there to testify. However, I think that they had testimony. It was not taped because they had cameras in the courtroom and they chose not to show their testimonies. So I think that their testimony came in the way of written testimony, and then it was introduced by the prosecutor. And I don't know how much she was given. I don't know. She was given a bottle of oxy. It's all I know. Hydrocodone is what she was given. I don't know how much. They did not say how much it was. That didn't come out, wasn't brought in. It wasn't like they contacted the hospital and brought in, okay, the doctor said he gave her this or that. That wasn't in the trial. So I don't really know. There's a lot of things. As a prosecutor, I looked at this case and thought that it were things that I would have done if I were prosecuting. And that's something that I would have brought into this, but it didn't happen that I saw. Rebecca and Robert met in a bar. They dated before Savannah even moved in, and they married on the day Savannah was found. I'm going over my notes, you guys. Now we're there. Here's another thing. Okay, the detainees, they were the two women who were detained with Rebecca say that she admitted that she had killed Savannah, that she had put the hydrocodone in Kool-Aid and gave it to her, and once she was out, she put her in the fire, and that one of them said that Savannah was not, that Rebecca told her Savannah was not dead when she went in the fire, that she tried to get up and get out, and that she hit her with a rake until she stopped fighting. That one I find a little hard to believe, but I don't know. I wasn't there. That's what the snitches were saying. Those were their testimonies. Both of them said that she drugged her, but the one said that she wasn't dead when she went in the fire. Okay. All right. So there was another reason why this case only just now is being seen. There was some evidence that was contested over. The defense contested some evidence that was presented, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And that is, and I don't know which court it went to, but it was a recording of Rebecca admitting that she killed, that she put her in the fire. Now, Robert had a box that Rebecca had given him. And his testimony was that she gave him this box, and it was a shoebox or something a little bit larger with no top on it, had a bunch of notebooks and papers and stuff in it, and a digital recorder, voice recorder in this box. And he claims that he took it to his parents' house and that he did not even look at it, didn't even look at that stuff. At some point, it says that he was in jail, and I don't know if it was because of this or something else, because that was not said. They did not bring that in. And when he got out of jail and all of this had happened, he remembered the box, and he went and he looked in the box and he found the recorder and he listened to the recording. And this recording was one that was done by Rebecca when she went to the public defenders. So she was in the office with the public defender, and she recorded herself and her interview with the public defender. And on this recording is where she admitted to burning her. And that recording, they argued over that recording and whether it would be admitted, and it was. It went to the Supreme Court and it was allowed. Now, I want to tell you guys that I was able to find the transcript for that, and that I was able to listen to that, and that I was able to understand everything that was said on that recording, but I can't, because there was a transcript given to both the judge and to the defense of this recording. It was played during the trial. I did listen to it. You can go over and listen to it. I watched all this on Law and Crime Network. And I could hear parts of it, but I could not hear all of it. And I will tell you that this today is our part 1 of this. So I will probably come back to you when we get a verdict, and I will get into more what she had said on that recording also. Yeah, she recorded herself. She recorded her visit with the public defender. Now, they did say that Tamil had been receiving child support for all 3 of those kids, and she was supposed to be if you want to know what the defense on this was, that she was supposed to be receiving benefits for Savannah while she was with her, is what Rebecca said, and that she had asked them to send the paperwork so she could get Savannah help. She claimed that Savannah was suicidal. She wanted to throw her own self into the fire, all of these things because she, of all this stuff. Um, the boyfriend that they did get married, her and Tamil married this guy. His name was Kerry Steves, and that was they divorced in 2019. They put Tamil on the stand and they asked her all kinds of things. She was diagnosed with depression at 14. In August of 2016, when Savannah went to live with Rebecca, it was supposed to be temporary. There were problems. At some point, Rebecca had threatened to put Savannah on a Greyhound bus and send her back to Tennille. Tamil said she tried to mediate between the two of them, tried to offer things that she had over time helped to get along with Savannah better. Rebecca did not get on the stand. Tamil did. However, they did play the recording of Rebecca, but she did not get on the stand. She was right at 16, 17 years old, right in there somewhere when she died. Now, I'm looking here to see. There was some testimony brought in from someone on a Facebook post that said that Savannah had been made to crawl through the hog pen, be hosed off with a hose, and bathe in the pond as punishment for some of the things that she had said or did. And that's about everything that I have for this time. Crazy mom, right? Now I do have some statistics for you guys, some information for you. Because we have been talking about this, that I thought I would go briefly into some of that for you. So, a child murdered by the mother, and this is from PubMed Central. This is, yes, I'm looking forward to this verdict too. It has been with the judge. I will say that it has been with the judge since the 30th of June. So, we're 22 days out from this going to the judge, and there's not been anything yet. I would say that once this is made public, the transcript of that recording could possibly be made public, because there's a lot of that type of information that gets put out to public domain once a trial is over and a verdict and all of that stuff has happened. So yes, Tamil she still had legal custody of her. She still did. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Yes, that's probably what she did. But then she got to thinking, uh-oh. And she knew she had given all this stuff to Robert, right? So then they go and they get married. Well, then he just shows the stuff anyway. He turns all of it in anyway. Probably to save his own butt, right? Now, according to PubMed, don't think I can make this any bigger, you guys, but the tragedy of a maternal filicide, so that's Filicide, or child murder by mothers, has occurred throughout history and throughout the world. This review of the research literature sought to identify common predictors in the general population, as well as in correctional and psychiatric samples. Further research is needed to improve identification of children and mothers at risk. Infanticide laws are discussed. Suggestions for prevention are made based on the current literature and the author's experiences. So the key words here are filicide, infanticide, and child homicide. Here's one of the things, and that is, I think I spoke of this the other day, but the rate of infanticide parallels suicide rates rather than murder rates. The risk of being a homicide victim is highest during the first year of life. Throughout the U.S., so though the U.S. has the highest rates of child homicide, 8 in 100,000 for infants, 2.5 out of 100,000 for preschool age, and 1.5 out of 100,000 for school age. The problem of child homicide transcends national boundaries. These rates of child murder are probably underestimated due to the inaccurate coroner rulings and some bodies never being discovered. So you have maternal filicide. I'm going to go through some of this and I will kind of summarize it for you guys, but I will also leave links to these down below once this goes, so you can go and look if you would like. Then I went to looking at the United States. And here are some of the cases that you and I have talked about. Do they speculate there is a significant postpartum component? Like I said, I will go through and look. I don't know. Hello, Lori. So we've got Andrea Yates. That was postpartum. Historically, women who have killed their children have been considered monsters. The Puritans believed all women who killed their babies violated what was taken to be the law of nature decreed by God. The women who killed their children then, they were by definition unnatural and monstrous, more hardened than the sea monsters who draw out their breasts and give such to their young ones. The media sometimes characterizes mothers who kill as either mad or bad. Women portrayed as mad have been characterized as morally pure women who, by all accounts, have conformed to traditional gender roles and notions of femininity. These women are often viewed as good mothers, and their crimes are considered irrational. The women characterized as bad are depicted as cold, calloused, evil mothers who have often been neglectful of their children. United States has the highest rate. I think I've already told you these. About 2.5% of all homicide arrests in the United States are for parents who have killed their children. So those are very sobering statistics, you guys. Okay, do we have any questions about this case so far? I will be digging into her testimony. I will be waiting for any kind of a verdict on this case to see if anything happens there. Um, I'm going to dig into these articles some more and come up with some more information about this type of thing. That's right. You know, there's people who joke and say, "I brought you in this world, I'll take you out," but they don't mean that. It's not at all. They don't mean it at all. Even yes, even when you are having the worst day and having the hardest time controlling your kids and they driving you absolutely crazy, you don't think about doing that. You just don't do that. Absolutely. Yes, I was kind of hoping that we would have a verdict by now, but nothing yet. So we shall see. So tomorrow morning, we're going to do Self-Care Saturday. I would like everybody to come with their routines if you can. Anybody has a routine that they follow that they would call what their self-care routine is, no matter what it is, you guys, whether it's knitting, crochet, sitting and watching the sun come up with your coffee, affirmations, journals, yoga, stretching, walking, anything you do that you consider to be your self-care routine. Come tomorrow and let's talk about what everybody does. I'd like to hear it. And we will continue to talk a little bit more about these statistics. I was going to do that on Tuesday for our roundtable, so that's probably what I will do this coming Tuesday. Yeah, me too, Colleen. If anybody touched one of mine, man, I get all Mama Bear. I definitely get Mama Bear. Lori, I looked into that. So Lori had sent me something about a man in Indiana, and that is a plethora. That family is a plethora of problems all over the place. There is a lot going on with that family. Um, yeah, I think that they're going to find out that unfortunately he took himself and them all out. He took himself and he had problems. Um, he was not doing. He was not stable. He didn't have a job. Yeah, he was not stable, and there was a lot going on in that family. So I did look into that, but it looks very similar to a lot of the other where they just decide that everybody's got to go. Tomorrow morning will be at 7:15 a.m. It is all kinds of messed up. I looked into it. I really did. So, but the synopsis on that one, from the time that you sent me the link and I looked at what was going on, it was like, oh, okay, I can see what happened here. Pretty quickly added up to a lot going on with that. So, okay, I hope you can someday get all of that worked out, Kimberly, with your phone. I do. I thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate you very much. And I hope I answered all of your questions. And I will see you in the morning. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you before next week, I hope to see you. But if I don't, I will see you then. And have fun today. I love you, Chelsea. I love you, Carrie. I love you, Sailor. I love you, Solomon. I love you, Oliver. And I love you, Mr. Fiber. I love all of you guys. I thank you, my moderators, for being here. I thank you all for participating in the chat. It means the world to me that you are here and you watch. And see you later.